Campus Insiders preparing you for the NBA draft with our mock draft, or should I say unmock draft. That's right. These are the guys you want to avoid, the guys you don't want your team to select. Joining us are a couple of our insiders, our unmockers, if you will, Brian Scalabrine and Chris Spatola. Gentlemen, 5 rounds, and since Scalabrine is worth more Scrabble points than Spatola, we're going to give Brian the first pick. Brian, who do you got?
Nerlens Noel, a big man with knee problems that's only 205 pounds. That spelled disaster in the NBA.
Wow, Scal, #1 on a lot of mock drafts, and you're already unmocking him. I'm going to go to Shabazz Muhammad out at UCLA, where there's smoke, there's fire. This guy's got a lot of baggage. He's all over the place as far as teams are concerned picking him. I don't know how he's going to score at the next level. Very left-handed, little undersized, tough getting his shot off. I'd avoid Shabazz.
Yeah, for sure, Chris. He can't play pick and roll, and he doesn't create space. That's a great pick at #1.
But he can play that Pong game well with coaches, as we saw last year with his head coach, right? With the second selection in the 2013 Unmock NBA Draft, Chris, you pick?
I'm going to go down to the ACC and pick C.J. Leslie from NC State. This is a guy, I try to avoid the tweeners. A little bit undersized. He's going to have to play that small forward, and he's limited offensively. Has no real post presence, can't score down there, and it's going to be tough for him to get a shot off at the NBA level because he hasn't really expanded his game.
The thing is, he can get 10-plus rebounds in the NBA because he is undersized and he's athletic to the ball. I don't know about that pick. So my #2 pick is Cody Zeller. In the NBA, you got to be able to do one of two things if you're a big. You got to be able to stretch it out and shoot the three, which he can't do, or you got to protect the rim, which he struggles to do. That's a disaster.
All right, 2 rounds down, on to round 3. Scal, who do you select?
Well, I have to say that I love this kid, Shane Larkin. He's great at pick and roll, but the problem is he's 5'11", he's tiny. It's going to be hard for him over the course of 82 or trying to win a championship to have a guy who's only 5'11".
Well, that's where we're going to part ways, Scal. I actually would take Shane Larkin ahead of Trey Burke. They're both undersized, but I think Larkin, a much better athlete, and a much higher ceiling than Trey Burke. So I got to disagree with you there. My next unmock would be Steven Adams. I think this is a guy who's light years away from contributing offensively at the NBA level. He has good size, but to take a guy like that who's only averaged 7 points a game at Pitt, I'd avoid a guy like that.
Well, when you watch film, I've worked with Steven Adams, you watch film, Pitt didn't use him right. Steven Adams is a catch and finish guy. He's athletic, he can run the floor. That's going to be a mistake, and you're gonna regret that one.
Well, you're a ringer, Scal. You've worked with him. Come on, man.
Oh, of course, I got to make my guy. I got to bring him up. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not lying about Steven Adams. He's a legit player.
I mean, he's coached by Scalabrine, right? He's got to be good in the NBA at the next level, right?
Big improvements under Scalabrine.
All right, so you each have 2 picks remaining. Chris, your pick in round 4.
I'm going to go Ricky Leto out of Providence. I'm not sure how this guy is moving up draft boards. He's a type of guy who would look good in a workout. He's a good athlete, has good range. The problem is he didn't even play last year at Providence. So as far as learning things like shot selection, I got a chance to see him play in high school. There's some baggage surrounding him. I would avoid a guy like Ricky Leto, at least until we see him in game action.
I'm going to go with Michael Carter-Williams. He's big, he has size, but at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to follow a guy and be the leader of your team when he's always smiling when he's playing and he's always seems like he's goofing around. I need a guy who's serious, who's going to win me a game in the Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Man, you're taking out my top 2 point guards on my draft board. Unbelievable.
All right, Scal, here's your 5th and final pick in the unmocked draft. Who do you have?
So I got to go with Allen Crabbe. He's a tweener. He's a 2-3. But he really can't create space on his own shot, and he can't play pick and roll. When you can't do those things, it's going to be very difficult to find consistency on the offensive end from the guy, and he just doesn't really guard that well either.
And my last pick, I'm going to go with Anthony Bennett out of UNLV. I'm hearing this morning he's 18 pounds overweight from his playing weight at UNLV. He's a guy who's already a little bit undersized at 6'8". Teams haven't had a chance to see him work out because he's been hurt. I would avoid Anthony Bennett. You got a better shot at taking a guy like Otto Porter or Victor Oladipo.
Hey, Charles Barkley was always 18 pounds overweight, and he's a top 20 player in the NBA history.
Yeah, this kid ain't Charles Barkley, Scal. You know that. Come on now. This kid ain't Charles Barkley.
That extra weight.
Oh, God. Charles Barkley, my goodness.
Well, maybe Bennett needs to get some coaching from Scalabrine. You'll slim him down, right, Scal?
Oh, yeah. See, now if he was with Scalabrine, I'd take him off my unmocked draft.
Listen, there's been a lot of successful fat guys in the NBA. Don't mock the fat guys. They can hold their own, and they don't get hurt that often.
But only one successful white mamba. Right, Scal? All right, all right. Knowing who not to take, almost as valuable as knowing who to pick. Chris, Scal, guys, thanks very much. If those are the guys NBA GMs shouldn't pick, well, find out who they should pick on our site right now. Seth Davis breaks down the top 5 for every position, including why he doesn't think Cody Zeller is one of the top 3 centers, only on CampusInsiders.com.